Media is a powerful tool through which people, institutions, and organizations communicate their messages to large audiences.
I decided to approach it with the view that it is through media that people are exposed to and learn about issues or events, many of which could be deemed controversial. It is considered controversial. Who gets to decide what is and is not appropriate?
Who has the responsibility of teaching 21st century learners to think critically about media and to participate safely in it? Petrina suggests that an issue is controversial once it is not politically correct and if it goes against the beliefs of society. To this I add, is something controversial if it brings about critical thinking regarding difficult topics? Topics that should be discussed in order to prepare and educate informed global citizens? According to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, one of our fundamental freedoms is the freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication. The prescribed learning outcomes in British Columbia are generally open-ended and vague, leaving room for interpretation.
Educators have the freedom, when mixed with common sense and support from administration, to teach potentially controversial issues. Educators are creative, autonomous role models who have accepted the responsibility of teaching our leaders of tomorrow, students who are able to think for themselves and act responsibly. With that being said, educators do need to have transparency with their curriculum. In collaboration with parents, students, and administrators, educators should be able to teach seemingly controversial topics as long as they are able to justify the decision to introduce content. And clear boundaries are established, meaningful learning takes place.
After all, the main reason for teaching controversial issues is to create global citizens who are sensitive and aware of the world beyond their comfort zones. Citizens who are respectful and who can apply different perspectives to a variety of important issues.
By learning these skills, students are better able to think perceptively. They can view the world without bias, stereotyping, or generalizations. It's important to acknowledge that the manner in which content is delivered is key. It is a real fear that exists for teachers who want to integrate a strong social justice focus in their courses, and is the predominant reason why educators do not. However, addressing issues and then allowing the students to have the opportunities to explore the topics themselves can be impactful. Through debates, discussions, dialogues with experts, educators are the facilitators of a safe space and collaboration while the students take responsibility for their own learning. To switch gears, but stay within the parameters of my argument, how information is being accessed is changing greatly. No longer are teachers the sole source of knowledge. Students are accessing information and being exposed to a lot of material through the media, much of which they might not understand as the information is coming at them quickly, frequently, and unregulated.
As Marshall McLuhan stated, we are a global society due to technology. If we allow students to explore this global society, they will become global citizens. People have access to information at their fingertips, and it is important that they are able to view media with a critical eye. In this day and age, there are 3 types of media that are used to share information: traditional media, new media, and social media. It is fascinating to think about the evolution within these types of media. For example, traditional media is generally considered to consist of newspapers and major television stations that run the newsreel on a continuum. The information is repetitive, formulaic, and uninteresting. These types of media are not always accessible to students, our future, who have come to expect information to be quick and easy and available on their devices. New media, like Vice or BuzzFeed, provide on-demand access to content anytime, anywhere, on any device. It allows interactive user feedback and creative participation. Another key feature of new media is the real-time generation of new and unregulated content. Flew stated that as a result of the evolution of new media technologies, globalization occurs. This is an accurate statement when you consider how new media is being used to learn about what is happening locally and globally in real time. This idea of globalization as a result of media is reflected in how people are using social media. Andreas Kaplan and Michael Heinlein define social media as a group of internet-based applications that build on the ideological and technological foundations of Web 2.0, and that allow the creation and exchange of user-generated content. It is viral, highly interactive, and unregulated. People are spending more and more time on social media sites than any other site on the internet. Popular sites include Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. This visual represents the relationship that exists between media and information. An event, which is a broad term used to encompass action, thought, and initiation, uses these forms of media to get a message across to a larger audience. In turn, media uses its platform as a provider of information to spread the message about an event, which is not always regulated. Social media is having a revolutionary effect on our society and how we choose to access information. People are connected, they expect up-to-date information, and they want it succinct and to the point. Technology and media are driving forces in changing societies and their cultural views.
Technological determinism refers to the belief that technology is the agent of social change. Media demonstrates what happens when civilized rules of debate are ignored. Social media gives students a voice, a platform to share their ideas.
It may validate thoughts, feelings, and ideas that a student has held silently. Social media is providing the voice of a generation. It allows people to challenge power when power doesn't like to be challenged. In order to demonstrate just how influential social media has been in initiating and creating change, I will use the recent protests in Hong Kong and the hashtag Occupy Central movement. In my case study, I will look at how youth are identifying and utilizing social media to organize and stand up for what they believe in. The protests began as a result of Beijing's announced plan to prevent Hong Kong from freely electing its chief executive in 2017. This resulted in protests, which escalated after the overreaction by police to this display of civil disobedience. Many of the pro-democracy protesters are youth who are afraid of Hong Kong reverting to full Chinese control in 2047 and of Chinese communist rulers eroding their freedoms, particularly the open press and independent judiciary.
Media has sparked organizational acumen and communal spirit. Youth are using their devices to connect to their world. While Hong Kong youth have access to social media sites like Facebook and Twitter, censors block their Mandarin-speaking counterparts in the north. It is interesting to consider that students around the world are following, sympathizing, realizing, and participating in the hashtag Occupy Central movement, which is protesting Chinese governance, when students in China are left in the dark. This form of censorship has been termed the Great Firewall of China.
Protests and movements are controversial because they are not politically correct and they go against the beliefs of society. Just look at what happened in Egypt in 2011 and the uprising of young people against the president, Hosni Mubarak. Egypt shut down the internet. The technological blackout has done little to stifle news leaking to the outside world. The web is abuzz with live TV streams, tweets, infographics, and on-screen reports.
Students need to know about controversial topics in order to develop as critical, independent thinkers. They need to be able to link to the real world, the one outside the classroom. Students grapple with many of these issues, but tackling them in class provides a safe and structured framework to debate issues. Controversial issues equals relevance. They reflect the core of the democratic process and our freedom of speech. Through controversial issues, educators teach students the methods, but more importantly, the importance of civilized discussion, which is especially important when debating personal and emotional topics. Students learn to justify their ideas by using logic and evidence, rather than fall for simplistic, populist thought. Students develop their thinking skills by manipulating contradictory ideas and facts, while helping them create a sense of acceptance of other viewpoints. Students, in dealing with personal or emotional topics, gain a better sense of who they are and where they stand with reasoned evidence. Teaching these topics also keeps the teacher motivated and challenges their thinking, as they must play different roles. It also allows teachers to explore their own interests, and this helps foster their feeling of job contentment.
Our students have every right to know about controversial issues and how to initiate change. A grade 11 student at my school, Jacqueline Lee Tam, wrote an open letter to Rich Kinder of Kinder and Morgan about the projected pipeline. With her permission and a smile, I share her video.
My name is Jacqueline Lee Tam. We're here at Burnaby Mountain, and I have a message for you, Rich Kinder. Mr. Kinder, I am a reasonable 16-year-old girl from Vancouver. I want clean air and clean water. These people, they're here for that too. Mr. Kinder, you are not listening to the voices of the people who will be directly affected by your work. The power dynamics here are skewed, Rich Kinder. You're besetting my generation with your messes to clean up. You're forbidding us from standing up for ourselves. You are stripping us of our voices.
Our students want to be heard. Let's show them how.